Okay, good evening. It's 7:01 PM, and I am calling the Affordable Housing Trust meeting to order. Um, Item number one, or two, the minutes from our June 13th meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review them?
Yes.
Any comments, issues, or concerns?
I'm good.
No.
No.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Item three, review and sign bills.
There are no bills this evening.
No bills this evening, good. Item four, board member comments.
Yes, I would like to thank the Select Board for my recent reappointment for the next 2 years.
I also would like to thank the Select Board for my recent appointment for the next 2 years as well.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very exciting.
Any other comments? No. Item five, new business. Just want to provide an update on June 3rd. Co-Chair Gannon and myself met with the CPC committee members, Vice Chair Jason Molina and Catherine McSweeney, just to discuss what would a partnership work and look like. So there was good discussions. They had, some concerns and questions about, pipeline and what it would look like, which, Ms. Gannon and I listened, and, we are working on a plan which we have developed when we put our strategic plan together, but we also have identified some potential opportunities and some homework for us as well. Do you have?
Yeah, so I think, kind of remain positive and step forward, and I think we have a lot to, some questions to answer for them, but I think they're open to possibly working together and collaborating.
And as part of, the meeting, I mean, that was our first one, our next meeting will be this Friday. So we will be able to, again, further push the process along and, pave the way so that we can hopefully find a way to draft a funding agreement. In addition to that, I connected with Joseph Townsend from Habitat for Humanity, and I will be meeting with him next week to discuss some interest that they have as well in doing some work here in the town of Shrewsbury. I've also found a list, an extensive list of town-owned properties, plural, here in Shrewsbury, which I will share with the committee. I'll send that out via email, and we'll upload it as well. We can look at that there and hopefully identify some opportunities there for some future development. We also looked at Zillow, identified some properties there that are for sale, vacant land. Unfortunately, looking at the prices there, and these are, not homes, but the prices that I've seen on 2-3 lots there are north of $300,000 and to $400,000. So, if we were to explore that and just look into going into purchasing a plot of land and then having someone else develop it, that will take a huge chunk of our resources. So there are a number of opportunities out there, and the floor is open to get any feedback or comments on the update. And I know there was a lot there.
Another thought I had too was maybe obtaining a list of foreclosure property where we could get that probably at a little cheaper, and then maybe tie in with Habitat for the rehab type of to bring it up to code if we could find something. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, under the discussion, I think later in the agenda, there's under correspondence, Habitat for Humanity, and there were some, I think that's appropriate time, as well as there's also another item, discuss potential opportunities. So I think that we can be more, I think that we can go more in detailed
Okay.
with some ideas.
And then with the list that I will be circulating later this evening, is there someone here that can look at it and identify, one, whether those are still available, and identify if they're buildable?
I think so. I think with the turnover, I would have to see who's been here the longest. I know in the health department, and people I would either check the building department or the health department to see if they've, are they familiar with those, because they kind of look into properties and deal with everyday issues. So they might know kind of what's up to date with the list, so I can share that with them.
And then we can probably then take an opportunity there to go look and have those conversations and see if that is an opportunity to, purchase, and then have discussions about, possible, building
Mhm.
a home or a duplex or something. Good.
Sounds good.
Any comments? Thoughts?
Yeah, just I'm happy to see that we're collaborating with CPC now, and encouraging to hear that the conversations have been positive, and looking forward to seeing how that partnership continues to grow in the coming weeks, months, as we move forward. So, thank you for that update.
And we'll say more to come.
More to come.
More to come.
Right. Any other thoughts? No. Okay. Moving on, the housing production plan update.
Yeah. So as mentioned at the previous meeting, the planning department is working to update the housing production plan internally. And we're using the Census.gov's new data explorer called data.census.gov, which is a fairly recent tool to help look at demographic and housing characteristics of towns. And, over this, I think, since the last meeting, we've made some significant progress where we've, covered most of the demographics that the town we're looking at, in terms of, area median income of Shrewsbury, a median price of homes, the average age of people in Shrewsbury, the racial and ethnic demographics of people in Shrewsbury. So that has all been analyzed. And using the data census.gov, you can actually, it's a tables, so you can it lists, so you can click on the list and says 2022, and it checks all the way down. So I compared first to 2016 to make sure I have the right information, and then I go to 2022, the latest one, and now I have kind of like a snapshot of okay, what has happened in the last 4 or 5 years since then, and what are the changes? So I think with the census data, we can start to make an analysis pretty soon.
And then, is that something that you can share?
I would have to check back with Chris, because I think right now we're starting to develop a narrative. But I think right after the narrative, I think that would be appropriate to share. But I would check back with Chris first,
Right.
Director.
Great. Anything else on that, on the housing production plan update?
No, it's all
Nope.
going smoothly.
Okay. The MBTA zoning economic feasibility analysis?
Right. So the planning department, we met with the consultant group RKG Associates, who conducted the economic feasibility analysis based on the revised MBTA zoning proposal. And I wanted to clarify. So I think last meeting, so CMRPC is the consultant that's doing the compliance model. So the compliance model and the economic feasibility analysis are two separate things, because under EOHLC guidelines, they restrict affordability more than 10%. So in order to ask for more than 10%, we have to undergo the economic feasibility analysis. So that's why they're under two separate consultants. And so the RKG Associates conducted a pro forma analysis, which kind of looked at, different costs and rate of return to developers, and determined that 15% affordability would be the maximum affordability rate that would be allowed in the proposed MBTA overlay zoning district. And after analyzing this, staff may reach out to EOHLC to evaluate the potential to justify a higher affordability rate of 16 to 18%, but we would have to get approval from EOHLC for anything higher than 15%.
And has that happened in any other towns? Or-
We have to, not that I'm aware of, but I can look into that. If some towns have been, they've been allowed to have higher affordability. There might be towns, because towns that have a 40R district might have that, because within their 40R, they can get up to 20%. So that might be something, but we don't have a 40R district. So that might be something that I can look into in other towns and see if they've been successful in having affordability higher than 15%.
Okay. Any questions? Questions? Then moving on to item D. Oh, sorry. Go
Just
ahead.
really,
Yeah, yeah.
this is like technical,
Yeah.
I guess, but if in the drive, if you could drop in the economic feasibility analysis, I think that would be helpful for
Okay,
the trust
yep.
to see.
All right.
I know I've seen it
Uh-huh.
other capacity, so.
Right. Yeah.
Any other?
No.
No? Item D, the CMRPC.
Yeah, so last week we reviewed the Regional Housing Coordinator Program services from the CMRPC, and the Regional Housing Coordinator will provide support for housing production and affordability-related issues that Shrewsbury may face. The position was previously funded through a grant from the state and will now be funded by the towns that have contracted with the CMRPC. The towns are part of an advisory committee that Chris and I are members of, representing the town. So we will be their point of contact between CMRPC and the town. And so the planning department executed the service contract for 4 hours per week. And so for this meeting, we're actually seeking input on the tasks that the trust has about some projects or areas that could use the services of the Regional Housing Coordinator. So if you have any ideas, I know because staff time is limited, we could use some help with, looking through GIS or looking through Zillow, or that was one thing that I thought of, but if you would have any other input would be appreciated. So yeah, we can open up for discussion.
Yeah, no, I think this is good timing because, with the list that I'll be circulating, I think that there's a lot there to comb through.
Right.
And that would be great that, they can hit the ground running and start reviewing that. And maybe at our next meeting, we'll have something to discuss as maybe they have identified a couple of locations. Do we have an actual start date for this?
Let me check. I don't know if there was. FY25 membership fee, July 1st. So they said FY25, but it's not mentioned. I would assume, I would have to double check. I think it would start in July, but I would have to check with Chris and then with the CMRPC about when the services would start for FY25 here.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough to have the person start now.
Yeah.
Let's say July 1st.
It does say July
Yeah.
1st? Okay.
Well,
Does.
We can.
Yeah, the term of this agreement shall be 1 year, starting July 1st and ending on June 30th, 2025. Okay.
So
So.
I think that's one assignment. I don't know if anyone else has
Yeah.
any other thoughts there.
No, that's a good start.
But I think that would be definitely a good start for us, and hopefully we can get, as I said, a report back, and then we can start having those discussions.
Yeah, and I think especially, with all the research that you've done, and then we can, see what CMRPC might have some records that, that regional wise, that Shrewsbury might not have, and kind of we can compare and contrast that, and that would be something helpful too.
Great. Which that segues into E, which we've discussed, I think, a couple of times already, about the town-owned properties. That's a good way to button that up and close
Right.
that
Clean it up
circle.
and close it up.
Yeah. So, good. Any other questions?
Oh, yes.
I do have a couple of
Mhm.
questions.
Mhm.
And this might be information you can get for us later on. I tried to look through the zoning bylaws and all that, and it's very complicated as to whatever. But what is basically a buildable lot size? So when we're looking at properties, like
Mhm.
quarter acre or 10,000
Right.
square feet or
It-
whatever.
It does depend on, certain, which district, each district has its own
Okay.
zoning bylaws, or like the setbacks and as well as the lot size and acreage. Right, I know for rural A and rural B, it might be 12,500
Okay.
square feet, but let me just confirm. So like within the zoning bylaw, you can go to, I think, is it use regulations? Or, so there's an area where you can actually see kind of, what is so it is, area, frontage. So if we go to single family, the lot area, square feet for one single family is 45,000 square feet. And in rural A, 20,000, rural B also 20,000. So you can, in the zoning bylaw, it's under section 7B, area, frontages, yards, and lot coverage requirements.
Can you repeat that, please?
So if you want to
Where to
kind
find
of,
it?
so if you want to kind of get an idea of like which zoning district has, or like what are the requirements for a certain zoning district of their area and lot coverage, you would go to the zoning bylaw and you go to section 7B, and that's area, frontages, yard, and lot coverage requirements.
Thank you.
And so it's a table, and then so it kind of shows all the different front yard, lot frontage, side yard, rear yard, and then open space percentage lot area.
Okay.
And also the height as well, because that's also in certain zoning districts, it can only be 2 to 3 stories. And it's restricted, it's more, in some districts it's more restricted, in others it's not as restricted.
Okay, so we would have to identify the property
Mhm.
or land,
Right.
and then go to that, see where it is and what, and then,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
And the
Okay.
spreadsheet I have will identify.
And we'll identify that,
will
okay.
identify
All
that
right.
as well, so.
Because I was
think-
trying to look at some things, and I'm like, oh, how do I, and then I was like,
Yeah.
clicking, and I was like, oh, but, okay.
I also wanted to use this opportunity to kind of, the discussion of potential town and properties. If you also have any other information or any other ideas, I think this was a time to have some more open discussions. And then also if you want me to follow up with, a certain department or something, you let me know.
And I know the vice chair has identified or did some research as
Yeah, so
well.
please share that out.
And
I did.
Uh-huh.
I did, and I found just a couple, I went through the VST Vision, and I found a plot of land that is owned by the town on North Quincy, and it looked like it had a house on it, but I don't know when these are from. So just curious as to if this is available or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also found another property that was owned by somebody else that is, I don't know if it's been condemned or abandoned. I don't know what to tell if there's tax liens or what to do.
Yeah.
This is another, this
Yeah,
is
so,
another property, but I
it
don't
is.
know.
Yeah, so with the
Oh,
assessor, I think they would have the appropriate information.
Okay.
So I think once you know, now that I have the addresses, then I can go to them and ask what they know about,
And ask
or the
what
building
they know.
department as well.
Okay.
Whereabouts is that second property?
One is on Main Street, the one.
Oh, the one near.
Yeah, near,
Okay.
that's this one, I don't know, but this one is, that one was town-owned, that one that I found.
Oh, sure, thank you.
And then I guess I have this other list
Mhm.
of properties. And they're all over, different places all over town, and some
Okay.
say residential developable land, and
Mhm.
some say not developable, you can't develop it, potential. But these are all owned by individuals.
Okay,
So that's not something we're gonna go into yet, I don't think. I think we're gonna try to start with the town.
yeah, I think that's easy.
And see what that is, but I was just trying to figure out how much, how big of a lot is, required, but they look like they're smaller lots, so.
I like that Main Street property idea, because it's on a bus line, it's not that far from the commuter rail station. I think it would be a nice little,
Could you
Project.
check on the tax?
On this?
Is on
Yes,
that one?
all right.
On that one, maybe?
Thank you.
I don't know. Where's that one?
It's a start.
It's
And
just trying to get some information, trying to figure out, what avenue to travel down when we have all these.
And what we have to keep in mind is, remember, when we developed our plan, strategic plan, we were looking at first multifamily housing and trying to get, more affordable units in
Right,
these opportunities. Now, they're not presenting themselves at this time, and what we're looking now is a much smaller scale, more one-offs or two-offs, so it will take a lot longer and will be, a little more expensive as well. So that's part of what we're going to be discussing, down the road as to, which direction we're gonna go, where are the opportunities that make sense, and who would we partner up with, to get these projects off the ground.
Right,
every little bit helps. You know,
Right.
Even if it's, if that Main Street's 6 units better, of affordable housing
Mhm.
is better than 0.
right.
So,
Agree.
if that's what we have to chip away at versus, a big apartment building, then, I think that, it's a reasonable way to go.
So, a lot of opportunities here, and, we'll be busy, going over them and trying to figure out, which is the best track for us. Good. Any other questions? No.
Well, I have a question, and it's not directly tied to town-owned properties. To look at like houses that would be like in foreclosure, usually like multifamily units, things like that, or just through real estate, looking on real estate sites, and can we identify potential properties that way? Like buying them, or doing,
Identifying and purchasing
and then
foreclosed property.
purchasing, or is that
Oh, I-
tricky?
It will be tricky, one, just, financially, what we have available, to be able to
Right,
purchase that. I think
okay.
that, one or two, and then we're down to zero.
And then we're down to 0,
Mhm.
okay. That's kind of what that was
Yeah.
my
But-
thought, but that was also kind of like, presented where there's a bunch of properties, maybe buying something, but right now, I feel like we're better off.
I think right now,
Trying to
it's just,
find-
it doesn't hurt to, explore and weigh
Right.
our options,
Right,
and see, maybe,
Yeah.
we luck out and find something that's,
Yeah.
extremely affordable. But,
Mhm.
right.
If we don't look,
Because anything we would buy, we would have to bring up to code
Right.
to make it.
Definitely.
Right.
So, which probably would be a little bit more
right.
expensive than just,
Yeah, it can be, if you're adding some more rooms and adding plumbing, electrical, fire code, that all goes into, and permits, all those costs kind of add up together.
Okay.
Don't they usually like the money right away too? Don't you have to provide like a down payment, like at an
Yeah.
auction?
Yeah,
And then,
or probably the whole thing, I think, or most of it, we'd have to mortgage it, and we don't really, wouldn't be taking a mortgage out on properties, so I just was kind of,
Oh, good.
just trying to throw things out there to see how they work or don't
Mhm.
work, and, okay.
Anyone else? No?
Yeah, and I think for, the next meeting, if you have some more ideas, please feel free to reach out and email me, and also for the next meeting, we can bring it up again as an agenda item if we have more things to discuss.
Yeah, definitely. And again, as I said, hopefully, we'll have some information that, we can dive into as well.
Mhm.
And for the next meeting, if we could just get even a brief update on our current balance, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Because I know we've had some expenses that we've made, that we voted on. Just want to get a better understanding of where we actually are at.
Bless you.
Sure.
thank you, sorry.
Okay, next item, correspondence.
Yes, so the planning department in the town received an email from Habitat for Humanity, Joseph Townsend, again, reaching out because a representative, so he's a representative from the Habitat for Humanity's Metro West Worcester Division, about, potential projects in Shrewsbury. And so in the email, he talked about how Habitat for Humanity has a home repair program available where they could partner with the trust on assuring that seniors and low to moderate income households who own their own homes could obtain affordable home repairs and stay safely and affordably in their homes. And they can assist with equity sharing and new home rehabilitation and new home construction that is affordable via a deed rider that assures affordability. And they would need to partner with the trust or the CPC for funding. And so for this meeting, we're seeking input on tasks that the trust has about some project or areas that could use the services of Habitat for Humanity. That kind of ties in with our previous conversations and discussions.
So who would identify, or how would the process work in identifying the homes that would
Right.
require the repairs?
Yes, so that would also be a discussion about what, house would be identified. I think maybe look at existing multifamily housing and some in areas in low-income housing, some projects around town identifying that, and then we can see from there, are there any homes that are in need of repair or in, we can look at the building department and see if there have been, any violations to see, are they in drastic, need of that? Or I can, again, see what is the procedure and go talk again with Chris and see what is the procedure to look at this. Because I think compared to, acquiring new land, I think this is something, I think as much as we want to increase our SHI and increase our households, like maintaining affordable homes, I think is also important. So I think this can be something that is a very viable project for us to do.
Would it be possible for Joseph and maybe the executive director to attend our next meeting and just make a presentation? Just to get a sense as to how it's worked in other communities. I would love to get an idea of the process, and I don't know if anyone else would agree. But I think it would, it definitely, I would be open to it as well, because I know that, there are families out there that are having, challenges as well in
Right.
maintaining the houses. And I would love to hear some more about it, on how the process works for them at other locations.
Yeah, and he can, about some examples in some other towns that he's done in the Worcester area, so that, we can kind of, compare and relate to. All right, sounds good. I will email him and then check with Chris and see what is the think for the next meeting?
Yes.
You said? Okay. All right. So email him and see what he says.
Any other questions? No?
No?
Speaking of next meeting, when is that?
I think her next meeting is set for August 7th, if I'm not mistaken, or
August
August
8th?
8th.
August 8th.
I am not
I
able
am
to
not
attend.
here. I'm gonna be in Alaska.
You're gonna be in
Oh
Alaska.
my gosh. I'll be in Maine, which isn't as exciting as Alaska, but will be fun nonetheless.
All right.
Okay. The following week, 15th?
The 14th or 15th.
14, let me see, 14th works as well.
I can do either, the
Either.
14th or the 15th.
I can do the 14th.
Do the 14th.
I can do the 14th or the 15th.
Okay.
14th it is.
14th it is? Okay.
Will an invitation go out as well, just to?
Yes, I'll just, check with Chris and then I can send the
Yeah,
invitation for the
just so-
14th, then update that.
It hits the calendar and.
Right.
Is this room available?
I would have to check.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we can always go into that room, but I will check if this room is available. Because usually, planning board is on Thursdays, CPC is on Mondays, and I don't see anything, but there might be some, in the day there might be, but I think in the evenings, there are no other,
Doesn't school committee meet on Wednesdays?
they do in this room? Okay, I would have to check. All right, I can check, and then if not, we can explore some other dates as well. But I'll look at the 14th and 15th and see what if the holds for that.
Yes,
At that
because,
time.
for me, because then, the following 2.5 weeks are no good for me.
All right.
Right. Any other questions? No? So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make
So
a
moved.
motion to adjourn.
In favor?
So moved.
Now everybody's
Aye.
motioning and
Aye.
seconding together. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.